Hippopotamus sweats blood, hunts crocodiles, and can't swim. The dark secrets of a famous beast, in my humble opinion. As a photographer who has been shooting non-stop in Africa for 2 years now, the most dangerous animals there aren't bloodthirsty predators, but rather certain herbivores. And hippos occupy a high spot on this list. According to conservative estimates, they are responsible for around 500 deaths per year. And these are only documented cases. African biologists quietly hint that the real figure could be 2 to 3 times higher. Most incidents occur in remote villages, while fishing or crossing rivers, and only a small fraction are included in official statistics. They are perhaps the most misunderstood animals in Africa. They look like thick, soft barrels on legs, live in the water, cackle, snort, and seem to do nothing. But the more you learn about hippos, the clearer it becomes. They're not just fat cats. They're semi-amphibious tanks with a very strange set of superpowers. Let's start with the fact that these animals are literally drenched in blood. Their entire body is covered in a reddish-purple film. Common people call it sweat, but hippos don't actually sweat at all. What runs down their skin is hippopotamophore and norhippopotamophore pigmented secretions. Photo 6. This mixture works as sunscreen, moisturizer, and antibacterial ointment all in one. A useful thing when you've spent your whole life in the blazing sun. A spa treatment, built right into your skin. This is also the source of the myth of pink milk. Visually, hippos' milk can indeed appear pink, but the unusual color doesn't impart any additional properties. It's just that the red secretion sometimes colors it pastel if the female is very oiled. It gets even funnier. Hippos can't swim at all. Their bone tissue is pachyostotic, a type of bone so heavy and massive that its density is closer to that of an elephant than a cow. It sinks like a stone in water. Thick skin and 90% muscle mass don't add any buoyancy either. That's why hippos don't swim underwater. They walk along the bottom, pushing off like a trampoline, and gliding forward by inertia, like a slow underwater blimp. They're the only large mammal that lives in water but can't float. Yet, in lakes, swamps, and rivers, this ponderous giant does everything: rest, feed, nap, give birth to young, and squabble. The tragedy begins when the water runs out. In such cases, the herd is forced to move on in search of a new watering hole, and they can find a new spot several kilometers away from the previous one. There have been cases of hippos traveling up to 30 kilometers in search of new water. Tourists are amazed by a hippopotamus leisurely pacing the bare savanna. Hippos are especially common on land in Nyerere National Park in Tanzania. There are numerous seasonal pools there. 1 month, a lake. The next, dust. So they have to migrate regularly. To avoid getting burned, the animals stay in the shade or travel at night. But you can't call such a journey a leisurely stroll. It's not a walk, it's a journey, and a very nerve-wracking one at that. The fact is that hippos are incredibly territorial. They need a little water, a little mud, and a lot of personal space. They easily kill other animals for violating it, run 35 kilometers per hour, roar louder than a motorcycle, can flip a boat like a paper cup, and still look like sweet little smiles. There's only one creature, besides their relatives, that hippos barely tolerate: crocodiles. Their relationship is a whole other story. They share water bodies silently. The reptiles hunt, the hippos rule. It all comes down to the balance of power. Crocodiles eat anything that moves, but they don't touch adult hippos. They're too dangerous. An adult hippopotamus will break a crocodile in half or skewer it with its fangs. But this unspoken truce is easily shattered. If a crocodile carries off a chubby baby, the hippos won't stand for it. Field studies in Zambia show that up to 30% of young crocodile mortality is caused by hippos. Incidentally, hippos themselves can also indulge in meat. When life is going downhill, whether it's water shortages, stress, mineral deficiencies, or something has driven another to distraction, hippos can resort to scavenging, chasing lions away from carcasses, biting antelopes, hunting young crocodiles, and even engaging in cannibalism. Hippos, however, have a purely herbivorous digestive system. Their 3-chambered stomach is not adapted to meat, and it's actually harmful to them. But the fact remains,